Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Orange Juice. I am your host, Owen Kenoy. And back with us, we have my sister and podcast producer, also often the brains behind the operation, my sister Mallory, which I already said my sister. Hey, what's up?
Hey guys, if you didn't know, Owen is my brother.
Yes. So that is well established. Um, we have, I don't know why I feel the need to just recap this, but I was looking and I know we have been doing this podcast for over a year and a half now with the help of our mother and some frequent contributors, that sort of thing. But we are happy to keep down this path of general health and wellness and really how we're looking at our everyday lives, our fitness routines, what we put in our body, how we feel it, all of that stuff. So to continue that topic and direction, we thought an interesting debate to have would be kind of like the old one where it's like, hey, we're so much healthier now than we were than our parents were. Excuse me. So the question is, are we healthier than our parents? A few things that kind of stick out is 30 plus years ago, I guess we are getting older now, but yeah, 30 plus years ago, for example, like smoking wasn't even necessarily frowned upon as much as it is today. So that's something that's just super basic where it's like, you think, yeah, I mean, your generation is definitely better off, but the reality is there has been a trend towards convenience, less movement, maybe more jobs involving technology or sitting at a desk for long periods of time. So we figured we'd just go through and talk about that evolution over the last however many years and just where we are today and where things stand compared to where they used to be. And not to spoil anything, but there are definitely some positives to where we are now. And there's some things that weren't all bad, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, obviously, you can look at statistics and see like our average lifespan is longer and those kinds of things. But we had one great grandma live to 109, another to 100. So, like, obviously, they were doing something right in their lifetime.
Totally.
So I think it's important that we're kind of looking at that. And I don't know about you, but I don't think grandma was like counting her steps and like tracking her macros and that kind of thing, but still lived a very healthy, full life. So I think there's lessons to learn from the previous generation. And obviously, uh, we have a lot more knowledge now, but I think for me, at least, this debate really gets down to like, how is knowledge power in this situation? I guess we'll find out.
Totally. And Mallory, what would be maybe some examples of like common knowledge that people are, getting either through apps or through their phones or whatever it may be that we're going to kind of talk about?
Yeah, at least for me, like I get my sleep number from my Aura ring. Obviously I track my steps. We talk about it all the time, tracking those macros, through those health apps, nutrition, making sure we're getting our vitamins and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, we have the apps to kind of track that now. And then speaking of nutrition, I feel like this is a big one that people have gotten into even in like the last 10-ish years. We hear so much talk again about protein and fiber, and we did a whole episode about this
We did.
recently about navigating the grocery aisle in these terms. Um, we know a lot about how like processed meats can affect us. I think about all the old men who just spent years eating bacon and eggs every day and what that did to their cholesterol. And just especially portion sizes. If you are a US listener, you know a lot about that and how we've learned to reel that in. Even though I will say, I think if you look back 70 years ago or something, they probably had their portion sizes a little more in control. I think it was that like early 2000s, like internet pop culture getting more out there
Totally.
thing. We want bigger to go viral, and now everything's just huge. um,
Yeah. And
but
we
yeah,
were we were talking last week, sorry Mallory. We were talking last week just about like all the different products that are in the grocery store, and it can feel kind of like an experiment walking in there where you're like, okay, maybe incorporate a little bit of high protein chips and some like low sugar or sugar-free soda and that sort of thing. But the reality is it can be very tough to understand kind of how it's all adding up and where your body's at with certain nutrients and certain food groups. So one thing when I think about kind of like the olden days, which is maybe where I'll just start to like broadly put the conversation. In the olden days, they would talk more about like make sure you eat your portion of fruits, make sure you eat your portion of vegetables, and like what does that plate actually look like and like that sort of thing. And I think that was an awesome recipe to success where it's like, hey, am I putting these like whole nutrients in my body? And if not, where can I further incorporate them? There weren't as many convenience items, so a lot of it was cooking at home and just grabbing more fruits, grabbing more vegetables, making bread at home, whatever it may be. So yeah, that doesn't sound all bad when I start talking about kind of that strategy of home cooking.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be real, and I'm sure our grandparents would tell you this though. I think some of those meals where it's like, potato, meat, vegetable also came out of limited financial resources. So their meals, had to be a lot simpler. However, with that being said, like, yeah, you're not snacking all day on Doritos and soda pops and all these extra things. Somewhat because you couldn't afford it. I actually think that was pretty big for a lot of people. Um, but also it's just, yeah, it's cheaper to feed
True.
your family. Like whatever, chicken's on sale, potatoes are cheap, rice is cheap, vegetables are cheap if you're eating in season. So, I like, obviously what they were doing is really good, but I was a history major, so I like to look at all the angles on the why. And I think affordability was huge. And then, yeah, over time, all of these easily ultra processed, highly palatable foods, those are what became cheaper. Things like McDonald's became
That's
cheaper.
what I was just gonna say.
Yep. And so that's why we switched over to that. And now I think right now we're in like a weird renaissance where that food's actually becoming really expensive. But so are the fruits and vegetables and meats. So everything's just expensive now. And pick your battles, I feel like is where we're at.
Totally. I find myself just falling in the trap of convenience where a lot of times what is convenient isn't necessarily a healthy option. Like I just made some chicken nuggets for lunch and like I try to do a healthier version and that sort of thing, but it's like having chicken nuggets for lunch can't be like a slam dunk option, when they're frozen out of the bag or whatever. So, I'm having a very busy day. I am at peace with that, and we're gonna do a home cooked dinner. So, that's just kind of where it's all about balance. But yeah, the more processed foods are just so convenient to grab and incorporate into your routine.
Yeah.
Go
And
ahead.
say the other thing I feel like we hear our grandparents talk about, they weren't tracking their steps, but how many of us heard about their 10-mile walk to school and back? So
Totally.
they were definitely getting their steps in. They weren't necessarily tracking them.
Yeah, and nowadays there's that like 10,000 step number, which we've talked a little bit about. Absolutely a great goal, but um, if you are looking for a step goal, I would just encourage you to not just pick 10,000 and just say like, hey, why am I incorporating 10,000 into my routine, or what do I actually need to do? Maybe 8,000 is good, or maybe even just looking at it like, hey, I like for me, for example, hey, I'm gonna walk my dog every day, and that's gonna really help my step count. So it's all about how you're using this data, and hopefully you're not using it as a way to stress yourself out. Where let's say you do have a busy week, more steps weren't in the cards. Like that's just the reality sometimes, and that's where like some of these statistics can be more stressful. Where like you were saying, Mallory, they didn't even have like grandma and grandpa didn't even have a way to look at their step total for the day. Like I don't even know when that was really popularized, aside from someone like sitting there literally with a manual like clicker or whatever, like tracking their steps, So um,
The fun story about that, I think it was I'm gonna butcher this, but it was in Japan, and I wanna say it was for the upcoming Olympics or something that they were gonna have there. They gave out all these step counters, and it was just a promotional event thing, and they just picked 10,000 as the number, and that's why it became a thing. It was a total marketing campaign. They handed out these like, it was right when that became a thing. They wanted to promote the use. So you're right on the money. It's very arbitrary. And it was a total marketing event.
but incorporating that everyday movement into your routine is so important, and that's what the older generations have done really well. And Mal, I like how you said there's been like a renaissance, because I feel like there has been, where like the people like our age and younger, and I'm sure everyone realistically is realizing like, hey, this is a whole picture. It's not just about like eating healthy or like nailing that. It's about moving your body. If you sit at your desk for, 10, 11 hours a day and go to the gym for an hour, like, I know you're doing your best, shout out to you, but like, is that really like a full, complete, um, holistic lifestyle? And, maybe you get up before work and do steps, or you really make the most of your weekends or evenings, and there are other things you're doing too. So, shout out to you. That's not to say that that's not sustainable, but it does just get a lot more difficult in a scenario like that, for example.
Yeah, and I I don't feel like we need to coddle people here. I think it's the truth that a lot of people don't realize. Yeah, like you're saying, if you're on a computer 8 hours a day and you drive to work and that's your commute, I'm sorry, even if you go to the gym for like 45 minutes to an hour every day after that work, you are not active in like the total sense. You are doing much better than not doing that. Don't stop. You are doing so
Totally.
much better than sitting and not doing anything. However, I think that becomes an issue, especially when you're talking about nutrition and calories. People will go into these little apps and be like, well, I work out 7 days a week, so I'm really active, and it'll pop out a little calorie number that is probably much higher than what you're burning because you're really sedentary and only having this burst of energy for like an hour or so a day. So I do think that's really important to think about. And kind of like Owen was saying, like this past generation, like I really think we can learn from them where they would walk more. Can you walk to the grocery store? Can you walk to these places? Even when I go home, we don't live in necessarily the most walkable town. But you know what? I walked the 1.5 miles, 2 miles up to get my nails done. And it's kind of a weird walk there, but I did it. I didn't need to drive. And I got a lot of steps in. So like sometimes it is going out of your way to do this. Is it gardening? Is it um like honestly having an adventure? Can you go hike somewhere? Can you go climb a tree? Can you take the stairs more at work? Like is that an option? Literally anything. The classic park farther away. We obviously have modern amenities now, and it's not as easy for us to get in this quick motion because we don't have to like they used to. But I think it's important to go out of your way to just be like, am I moving even every other hour? Am I moving for like 10, 15 minutes? I think is a good place to start.
And what's nice is a lot of places are starting to even help accommodate folks more and more, where they know that sitting at a desk isn't necessarily abundantly healthy. So it's like, okay, yeah, go ahead and take your 10-minute walk, or do your like standing desk, or some people will even give you like a budget for that. I'm sure you would know if you're considering it. You're probably well aware, but just doing whatever you can to try to break up your day and yeah, incorporate movement. Even if it's like, yeah, using the bathroom on the first floor. Like I just thought about my old job. Like I said I lived, I worked on the third floor. Some people would say lived, but like when I go to the bathroom, why not just take the stairs down to the first floor, use the bathroom, and then take the stairs back up? Like just doing the little things to really help put yourself ahead. Also, a step too that goes along with really next topic, sleep, is an Aura ring. So Aura ring does track steps, but also your sleep, and they calculate a readiness score, which I always find fascinating. So I actually stopped wearing my Aura ring because basically what I found is that generally I slept pretty well when I went to bed at a good time, allowed myself like, a little bit of leeway on either side to actually get to sleep. And then I know that first thing in the morning, my body starts to wake up anyway. And basically that if I just established like good routines, that I was sleeping well. But what would happen is, maybe I wouldn't have an ideal readiness score or whatever for a day, or maybe I did know that I had a few days of bad sleep. I would start like really stressing out about it, and like almost telling myself like my readiness score is low, like I just shouldn't do this or do that. Where there, I just live like a very busy lifestyle, and like yes, I do absolutely take care of myself, but it totally was a mental barrier of like I've got things that I need to do today, and like my readiness score says I'm low, so like it's just a lot harder to get started.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think this is a great example of like what you do with the information really affects if it's a useful tool or if it's this is just something that's going to stress you out and yeah, make things harder. So for me, I deal with insomnia and that kind of thing. So when I got the Aura Ring for me, getting a sleep score in the 80s and stuff, I was like, wow, I'm not sleeping as bad as I thought I was. So it was like kind of a weird reverse thing where I'm like, wow, I feel like I slept so bad. And then I check my ring and I'm like, well, maybe I didn't sleep as bad as I thought. So that's why for me, I feel like it's more helpful because it's more of an encouragement. Even when I feel like I had really bad night's sleep, it'll be like, well, look, you got all this REM sleep and, deep sleep in. So you are more recovered than you think you are. And that helps me push through when I'm feeling sleepy or out of it. I also just think I've realized I'm a person who takes a while to wake up. Um, so like it was weird because it was like a reverse thing where I'm like, actually, I did get more sleep than I thought I did. Suck it up, girl. Like, let's get going. No excuses. So like, however
So
that info
yeah,
affects you is very different.
that's what happened with me right at first. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then like on those lower sleep score days or like just life events that are getting in the way and like affecting sleep or whatever it may be, that's when I started to get in my head. And I was like, okay, well, I know that generally I sleep well, so I'm just gonna tap out for a little bit. And I do have interest in, getting it back on and using it more for like the fitness aspect as well. But it was good just to know like, hey, if it's not serving in that purpose, like just take a break or whatever, right?
Yeah. Um, the other big one, and I think this might be our kind of last one, is supplements. Oh my gosh, if I am pitched another supplement, I'm gonna go crazy. And it's so hard to source through what's good for you. And then at that point, if you decide where to actually get a good source of these supplements that isn't, dangerous and full of fillers and from a bad brand. That's a whole side tangent we could do a whole episode on.
Totally.
But I feel like we're recommended multivitamins, magnesium, vitamin D, electrolytes, creatine, protein powders, the greens powders. Those drive me crazy. I'm like, just eat some spinach. Sorry, those ones bother me. Probiotics. And I think a lot of these are useful. I personally take creatine. I use a lot of protein powder because I love smoothies. I have to take vitamin D and calcium for another prescription I take to make sure I don't lose bone density. So, like, obviously, I'm saying that because there are valid reasons to take these. But say I'm taking a vitamin C supplement and I have my orange juice every morning or whatever, I don't need a vitamin C supplement. You're overdoing it. Like, I think it's
Totally.
really easy to do that.
I don't generally do this, but like one time I went to Costco and there was just like a big thing of like omega threes. And I was like, oh yeah, like omega threes. I know those are like real good. So I just like grabbed them and started taking them. But it's like, and maybe that was good for me and what I needed. But it's like, I don't know. Don't just grab stuff and just incorporate it just for because it's like good for you. Maybe try to understand the bigger picture and like, hey, if you are lacking vitamin D, for example, like incorporating a supplement like that or multivitamin, I think is honestly an easy one where it's like, yeah, you're gonna cover all your bases pretty easily with something like this. But personally, I'm trying to think what a good substitute would be for electrolytes. But to me, electrolytes are just like so important, and I love the electrolyte drinks for hydration. So I feel like I would struggle just kind of like scrapping them all together in my routine.
Well, there's other all electrolytes really is like there's like minerals and salt. So, something as simple as honey and salt on a rice cake before you work out is pretty much electrolytes. But I get what you mean. Like that's when this isn't to say don't take any supplements. If there's ones again like you like and work for you and help keep you hydrated, that's good. Just consider why you're doing that. If you're someone who's
Yes.
already super hydrated and aren't sweating a lot, maybe you don't need electrolytes and you get plenty of salt and whatever in your diet. It's I think my whole thing with this is know why you're taking something.
Yeah, exactly.
in that it's actually supplementing something in your life. Like your omega-3s, if you were someone who ate salmon like really frequently, you probably wouldn't need to take it. But if you don't get a lot of sources of omega-3s, then like, yeah, take it. Who cares? Worst case also with a lot of this is you pee it out. That's what
Right. But it's expensive. Like so if it's not really serving a purpose, like just yeah, I guess make sure it is serving a purpose. You're gonna spend your hard-earned money on something like that. So
I,
um
yeah, to say I think overall that's like the takeaway. We have so many new tools and info and all of these things, but if it's not helping you and it's not serving a purpose, skip it. Like, simplify. I think that's my biggest takeaway from the previous generation is keep it simple. I had an old sewing teacher who did the whole keep it simple, stupid on me. And I'm like, I'm sure that's what they would tell us.
100%. And it's okay to test some stuff out too, where it's like, hey, maybe I do want to like stop using my fitness tracker for a few days or something like that and just see how it goes. And like maybe there are those moments where some of this more or I guess more information isn't actually doing you more. And can you unplug from those resources and just give yourself a chance to kind of recharge mentally and just get connected by like taking steps and eating healthy foods and going to bed at a good time and just kind of seeing how it goes. What I think about is like, let's say you're on a vacation or just like a free weekend at home, like maybe give that a try and just see how it goes. And if you find that it's not necessarily for you, then hop right back to your fitness tracker, whatever it may be. Or maybe you're telling yourself, gosh, I don't know any of this stuff. Maybe it would be better for me to get some more information and maybe incorporate a tool or two to my routine too. So just evaluate where you're at, what you're doing, why you're doing it. If you're not doing anything, is there something simple you can start doing and just build on it? And I think that's a lot of building a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, who would have thought? Just do what works for you.
So I guess to answer the question, are we actually healthier than our parents? I mean, that's totally individualistic, up to you. I hate to put it like that, but I don't know if you're really going to get a bottom line answer unless, I mean, guess Mallory, you did throw out a very valid point of
Statistically,
life expectancy.
yes.
Um, but in the spirit of debate and just like general lifestyle and that sort of thing, there are definitely positives to then and positives to now. Maybe that's a better way to put it. So hopefully it inspires you to think a little bit about what you've got going on. And we'll be back with more episodes of Orange Juice. Talk to you next time.